We spent a whole chapter talking about Jupiter's moons. And it's because Jupiter's moons are so cool. This is chapter 26. Like we said, Jupiter has a whole bunch of moons. Does anyone remember how many?
67.
67 so far we've discovered, but we'll discover more. It probably has more. And these things are all going around Jupiter, and Jupiter, when Jupiter formed 4.5 billion years ago, it was like a tiny solar system. Jupiter came together by gravitational accretion, and then there was stuff orbiting around Jupiter, a bunch of dust and gas, and that all came together to form Jupiter's moons. So Jupiter is like its own little solar system. But Jupiter's got a bunch of moons. Now some of them are probably captured asteroids and the result of some impacts and things like that. But most of them probably formed by gravitational accretion, just like the Earth did. And this is what they look like. Now the closest one in is Io, and that's the first one we're going to learn about. It's also the easiest to spell.
I put L-O.
Io. Yeah, that's an I. These names all come from mythology. Those four names are like daughters of
sons of Aries.
Sons of Aries.
Yeah.
Or daughter.
They said the son
Daughters.
of.
Oh, wait.
They said the two sons of Aries.
Sons of, that could be Mars.
Aries or Zeus or something. Anyway, they're all from mythology. It's not you don't need to
Why
know.
did they choose that?
It's just a lot of the
Funsies.
astronomical things were named from mythology, going way back, like to the Greeks and stuff, who thought there were gods in the skies, and so that's where heaven comes from. Heaven is the heavens, the skies. They thought all the little stars. They didn't know what the stars were, so they thought they were gods. That's going way, way back, thousands of years. But anyway, you can see the size. This is a good thing, showing you a comparison of the size. There's how big the Earth is. So the Earth is bigger than all the moons of the solar system. There's our moon. There's how big our moon is. Pretty big moon. Mars's moons are so small, we studied them yesterday, you can't even see them at this scale. But there's Jupiter's 4 big moons, Io, Europa, Ganymede, Callisto. You can see they're all really big and are about the size of our moon. These two are even bigger than our moon. Ganymede and Callisto. So that shows you. Saturn has one big moon like Jupiter's Galilean moon. It's called Titan. That's also a really cool moon. It's the only moon with an atmosphere. We're going to study that tomorrow, I think. Anywho, no, that's a couple days until we study Titan. But Titan's all right. But anyway, so let's look at these 4 moons here. Let's start with Io. That's what it looks like. It looks like a big pizza, almost. And there's a reason why it looks like a pizza. It's because it's got lava all over it from volcanoes that are active right now on Jupiter. Right now there's volcanoes going off on Io. I'm sorry, not on Jupiter. Io is very close to Jupiter. And so it's got this orbit that takes it right in there. If this was Jupiter in the middle, and what I need is, here we go. If this is Jupiter and this is Io, Io's got an elliptical orbit, right? It goes near Jupiter and then far from Jupiter. And near Jupiter and far from Jupiter. And every time it goes near Jupiter, it gets squeezed by tidal forces. Y'all remember we studied that? Tidal heating? Mm-hmm. And it squeezes the moon, and if you take a huge body that's thousands of miles wide and you squeeze the whole thing, you're going to create a lot of heat. I mean, it's so much squeezing that you actually have rocks breaking and stuff like that in the interior of the moon. And it heats it up. It creates a lot of heat. And then, not only does it squeeze, but going back when it gets far away, it unsqueezes. And that moves rocks again. And so you actually have this pulsating moon with so much heat inside that the rock becomes molten and has a lot of energy and expands and shoots out volcanoes. And so that's why this looks like kind of doesn't it look kind of sticky, kind of like
Looks moldy.
liquid, on the outside. Now the outside is cold. Okay, so this lava comes out and immediately hits space, which is cold, and especially if it's not on the side where the sun is shining. Remember, the sun will only hit half of Io at any one time. So it would cool off very quickly. So it runs out of these volcanoes and then cools and hardens. So you don't find hardly any craters on Io. Any craters, if it gets hit by an asteroid, makes a huge crater, the crater will fill in with lava. And so it's a smooth planet, or a smooth moon. Isn't that cool?
Is that why it stays active? Because it pulsates like all the volcanoes?
Yeah, it's constantly, every time it goes, every orbit it gets smashed, and I'm exaggerating, it's really not this elliptical. But anyway, it does have an elliptical nature, so it gets closer than farther, so it's just continually squeezed. Yeah.
Has there been a body in our solar system that's been hit by an asteroid recently?
That we've seen hit by an asteroid? I don't know if you remember the video yesterday. They said they showed Jupiter getting hit by a comet. It was called Shoemaker-Levy 9. And this comet went by Jupiter, and Jupiter's gravity tore it apart into a bunch of little pieces. And then those pieces swung around, and the next time they hit Jupiter and slammed into it. Do you remember seeing that in the video? And they made a bunch of scars on Jupiter's atmosphere that lasted for several days. But that's the only thing we've ever filmed hitting a planet in human history. There's never been another film of an asteroid or comet hitting a planet. That was it. Shoemaker-Levy 9. That was about 15 or 20 years ago.
We had film of it?
Yes, they trained, because the guy who discovered it was named either Shoemaker or Levy. I don't know, maybe two people discovered it, and I'm not actually sure the story there. But anyway, they saw this comet, and then they saw it go around Jupiter and it get dragged apart by the tidal forces, and it was in 9 pieces. I think that's why they called it Shoemaker-Levy 9, because it was in 9 pieces, and all those 9 pieces slammed into Jupiter, and they mathematically predicted when it would happen, and they were right, and so all the telescopes on Earth, the big telescopes that could see it, including the Hubble Space Telescope, turned and watched it, and it was a big deal. But so that's it, Maggie. Once we've ever seen anything hit something when it actually hit. Doesn't happen that often. Look at this. So the first time the Voyager spacecraft flew past Io, it took this picture, and that's a volcano going on. Isn't that a good picture of it? You can tell how big it is compared to the curvature of the moon. And that thing's huge. You can actually figure out, you can measure the radius of the moon and figure out how high up that's going. And it's hundreds of miles into the sky. It comes back down because of gravity, even though there's no atmosphere. That's impressive, Amy. You should like that. Loki is the name of this volcano.
What year did you say?
I think Loki is the largest active volcano in the solar system.
It said it puts off more lava than all the Earth's volcanoes combined.
All Earth's volcanoes combined, that thing is more.
Is the same kind of lava that comes out of like our volcanoes?
Similar, but not exactly the same.
But Olympus Mons.
It's actually hotter than our lava. What's that?
What's that big dormant one?
Olympus Mons on Mars is the biggest, but it's dormant. This is the biggest active. So isn't that cool? You want to see video footage of Io?
Yeah.
I got a great video of Io. Y'all are gonna love this.
I'm so hyped right now. So hyped.
What? Ah! What just happened? This is it, I think. Enable all, not recommended, but I'm gonna do it.
Sorry.
Orbiting Jupiter is the hottest moon in the solar system.
So their eyes.
Scientists once thought there could be little warmth 500 million miles from the sun.
Watch the video!
But here, the gravity of Jupiter and its other inner moons squeeze, bend, and twist this world until it heats up like a furnace. This is a world of erupting molten rock, poison gas balloons. This is a world so hot it is melting before our eyes. This is Io. Your trip to hell.
The surface of Io is an extraordinarily inhospitable place. To an unprotected human on the surface, the first problem would be the lack of a breathable atmosphere. And there's always the danger of being caught in a massive volcanic eruption.
We will brave Io's hell to visit some 300 active volcanoes. The #1 attraction will be Io's old faithful, Prometheus, a constant plume that sends a tower of poison gas 50 miles high. There's Loki, the largest volcano in the solar system. Scientists still don't understand its structure, but it generates more heat than all of the Earth's volcanoes combined. And Amirani, 300 miles of oozing lava, the longest active lava flow in the solar system. Io produces 45,000 tons of lava a second, enough to pave all of the Earth's continents every year.
I don't know why.
Looks like
It's
it's
hot,
skin.
runny, fast-moving lava.
Lava on Io would flow like olive oil, and you couldn't outrun it. You could possibly ride a bike and get away from it on a bicycle if you could ride fast enough.
And if you had a mountain bike, you would take the ride of your life. For Io has mountains twice as high as Mount Everest. You'd need warm clothing, for away from the volcanoes, Io is more than 200 degrees below zero and full of snow. Take your bike near a searing lava flow, and you'll be burned on one side and frozen on the other. And where the hot lava hits the cold snow, you'd see a magnificent plume shooting up to 250 miles into the frigid darkness of space. When the plume cools, it returns to the surface as sulfur snow. Like a kaleidoscope, the sulfur changes colors with temperature and impurities.
Io is covered in red and brown and yellow and even green. It must be quite extraordinarily beautiful.
On the molten world of Io, one thing you'd want to do is study the lava, how it erupts and how it cools. That's what these scientists are doing here at the Kilauea Volcano in Hawaii. And if you could, what you really want to do is stick a thermometer right in the lava flow.
About 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the typical temperature here in Hawaii, but on Io we expect lava to be about 500 degrees hotter, and that's something we haven't seen on the Earth for billions of years.
Io has the hottest lava in the solar system, over 2,600 degrees. The last time this temperature was seen on Earth was 3 billion years ago. when our planet spilled at least 4 times as much lava as it does today.
So Io's a chance to go back and look at the types of lava flows that are dead from the Earth. So it's like Jurassic Park for volcanologists.
We will want to visit Io, but the risks are immense. It's not just the volcanoes. Here, Jupiter showers the moon with radiation 4,000 times the lethal dose. But scientists may have found us a safe home. Underground.
The main obstacle to successful inhabitation of Io by humans is overcoming the high radiation environment. And probably the best thing to do would be to seek refuge underground, perhaps in something like this, a lava tube.
Io may be studded with empty lava tubes, basically old plumbing from its dormant volcanoes, and the rock above will act as a radiation shield. Keeping our exposure to a minimum, we would emerge from the lava tube for brief excursions, and we would look up to see one more surprise, the grandest light show in the solar system.
If I could be standing by a lava flow on Io and looking up at the sky, what I would see would be glowing volcanic gases, very much like the northern lights on Earth. It would be truly spectacular.
The aurora are created when sulfur dioxide gas ejected from the volcanoes strikes charged particles emitted from Jupiter. Gas hitting electricity, forming a gigantic neon light. It's one more reminder that the 95 moons hold the most exotic real estate in the solar system.
How cool is that? So that's Io, baby. Then there's Europa. Europa might be even cooler than Io. Well, it's definitely cooler. It's not as hot. But Europa also has the eccentric orbit that takes it near Jupiter. It's further out than Io. So if this were Io, you would have Europa even further out. But Europa also has an elliptical orbit, and so it gets squeezed and unsqueezed, and that builds up heat in the center of the planet. Now, Europa is mostly ice. That's water ice. And so it's like this big frozen ball of ice, except in the center it's hot because of the tidal heating. So if you have hot in the center and you have ice on the surface, somewhere in between you have water. And what they think Europa has, what they actually know it has, is an under ice ocean that has more water in it than all the oceans on Earth combined. A lot more. They think it might be something like 5 times as much as all of our oceans combined. And it's under the ice. And what happens when when Europa gets squeezed, the ice cracks on the surface. You have big cracks running around Europa. And you could, if there was an atmosphere there and sound traveled, you could hear this thing cracking. There would be huge cracks. And they run through the ice. And you could watch them. And they would open up. And water from that undersea ocean comes up out of it. Out of these cracks.
It'll be a geyser.
And then spreads out and freezes. And we can see these cracks all over. So you can see the big cracks? You can see them all over. And you can actually see how water comes up out of these things and then refreezes. And these things are all over the place. And the cracks are in different places. Every path you go around, some new crack will open up somewhere. And an old crack could open and close too. Wouldn't that be a cool place to visit? So NASA is planning on taking a spacecraft. They're working on this right now. Oh, there's a close-up of the surface showing all the cracks and stuff. But what we want to do is we want to land a spaceship. We want to put a nuclear heater on it. It heats up and gets real hot, and that melts the ice, and it falls down through the ice and melts it, it'll take many, many weeks or months to get all the way through this thick ice. And then get into that ocean and swim around like a submarine with a light and a camera on it. See what's down there. Because there might be life down there. Because what you need for life, what we know you need for life on Earth at least, is water. Liquid water. And there's a ton of it down there. And just like if you study marine biology, you learn about these hydrothermal vents at the bottom of our oceans where there's all this life around, where there's cracks in the earth that open up and ooze hot minerals out, and the organisms, instead of living off the sunlight, they're living off these minerals. And they think that there should be the same thing in these Europa oceans. So maybe there's big fish and things down there swimming under the ice. We don't know. Maybe there's nothing, but we have to go see. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Do you know when they're going to try to launch that?
They had it planned for earlier, and it got shelved because of budget cuts. But it's still, when they shelve something, that doesn't mean it's gone. They can bring it back off the shelf as soon as they get enough money. So it'll probably be in your lifetime, or hopefully my lifetime. So keep an eye out or an ear out for that mission. That'll be really cool. I know right now they're going to fly a spaceship around it a few times and the spaceship try and detect gases that are emitted from the cracks, and maybe we could sense life that way from the gases that come out of the cracks. Let me see if I can find the video here. Probably this.
95 moons, each one offering a strange alien surface to explore.
Charlie, what's the
But in
video
the
on
shadow
Europa?
of Jupiter, there is one world that offers the ultimate possibility. The possibility of life. This moon is a small icy outpost called Europa. Our sun, a 500 million miles away, offers little more heat than a distant match. Europa is cold and desolate beyond imagination. On the surface, it is the last place in the solar system to look for life. But break through the ice, and there may be the first ocean ever found off the planet Earth. The first new ocean since Balboa discovered the Pacific in 1513.
I think the biggest surprise would be that a moon could have an ocean. An actual ocean that could be an environment suitable for biology. That's a real mind-blower.
If I were to bet on one or the other, I would think that life would be more probable currently on Europa than on Mars.
I think to stand on Europa would be, to me, one of the most profound experiences of my life. It would be a place that might, under our feet, harbor life.
Europa would be a challenge to visit. Here, Jupiter rains a vicious hail of radiation that cooks the living like a microwave, and temperatures hover at 250 degrees below zero. To explore Europa, we will need something like a tank.
So the special vehicle for exploring Europa is going to have to be lead shielded to protect me from the radiation. I'm going to need a regulated atmosphere, plenty of oxygen to breathe, CO2 scrubber to remove what I breathe out, and I'll have to have a good supply of fuel, both to keep me warm and to properly explore this amazing place.
Europa's road is a bumpy one. There are 300-foot ice ridges that form a towering wall, and at the bottom, ice boulders block the way. You may not realize it, but you are driving on top of an ocean. Driving on a frozen ocean through a maze of tortured, jumbled ice as hard as concrete. Better drive carefully. The deep, dangerous cracks may be opening below your vehicle.
Some of the cracks on Europa extend for 1,000 miles across the surface. In fact, some of them would go as far as from Los Angeles to New York. And as they propagate, they go along at about 3 miles an hour, just about the same speed as the person walking.
Europa is riddled with cracks deeper than the Empire State Building. Walking along, you might look in and see the ocean water rising below.
On Europa, Jupiter exerts tidal forces that distort the whole body, so the whole moon gets stretched. When that happens, the surface gets stressed, cold, and cracks initiate. So you might have a crack like this on Europa, and it'll open and close every day, day after day.
Jupiter's tongue is stretching and squeezing the inside of this moon, creating enough heat to melt underground ice. The melted ice forms a subterranean ocean, and warm water rises to the surface. On Europa, you can visit not just the first ocean, but these, the first icebergs ever found off planet Earth. You are now on a journey to the closest place on Earth to Europa. It is the icy, frozen Arctic Ocean. Scientists are coming here to the Arctic, searching for clues to the ultimate question: is there life on Europa? For if we can find life in this extreme environment, then we have a chance to find life on another world.
It represents, this frozen Arctic Ocean, just a spectacularly extreme environment that allows us to explore and test the limits of life on this planet, which therefore allows us to think about the limits of life elsewhere, or if it's even possible to have life elsewhere.
In the frigid Arctic, Jody Deming and Hayo Aiken search for the very limits of life. They drill into the ice, its temperature 20 degrees below zero, a temperature at which no living organism has ever been found.
Well, the most sophisticated way to look for life in these samples would be to take a section here unmelted and put it under a microscope in a cold room that's at this temperature, stain it with a DNA-specific stain so that the bacteria light up for you, and then voila, there they are.
You are looking at living, breathing bacteria, found where no organisms should exist, in a place as close as we can get to Europa.
If I'm honest with you, I'm never surprised by what microorganisms are doing on this planet. They really have to be expected to do more than we ever think they're going to do. We have certain preconceived notions about what's too hot, what's too cold, what's too acidic, what's too. But every time we look and push a limit further and further, we find microorganisms happily perking along under those conditions.
With life thriving in the harsh, frozen Arctic, it's possible, perhaps even likely, that Europa's saltwater ocean, protected from deadly radiation by a layer of ice, will be home to the most profound discovery of all time.
In an environment like this, where you have a crack and water coming up and down every day, I could imagine several kinds of critters. You could have some things that hang in on the edge of the cracks. They want to be a few centimeters down to be safe from radiation, but as long as they're within a few feet of the top, they would get enough sunlight for photosynthesis. Other organisms might want to float with the water and just come up near the top sometimes, and then next day go on back down and just ride up and down with the suit.
Soon we may know if Europa harbors life. NASA scientists are currently designing a probe called the Cryobot to explore Europa's ocean. The Cryobot will land on the surface, but that's just the beginning of its amazing journey. For it will fire up a nuclear heater and begin a slow descent through the ice. 5 feet a day, it may take 6 months to make it through the thick ice. Like something out of a James Bond movie, the cryobot was split open, and a submarine armed with a remote camera will emerge into an ocean bigger than all of our oceans combined. The cryobot isn't science fiction. It is a current NASA research project. And within 50 years, we may be piloting a submarine looking for life on another world.
When I talk to my friends about hunting for life on another planet, they always imagine Klingons or something like this. I would be satisfied with slime mold. That to me would be one of the most profound discoveries that we've ever made.
It's an organic soup which was cooking for 4.5 billion years. That same soup on Earth cooked for less than 1 billion years and gave us life. So if I had to guess, I'd say there's a pretty good chance there's something very interesting going on in Europe.
Hey, that thing opens up and a big fish eats it. That's my prediction.
What?
A little
That would
robot
be terrible.
that'll dig in under the ice at Europa and release a submarine that goes around in this ocean, this under ice ocean that it has. That's what they were.
Could it billions of dollars down the drain?
Yeah, it sends signals to the thing that
like that heater.
dig down through it, and that thing, as it was going down, would leave a wire that can signal an orbiting spacecraft. It's pretty incredible project. Read the rest of that chapter. I didn't get to the last 2 moons, but they're not quite as interesting as Io and Europa.
It said that one of them could have